Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show where we take a look at the highs and the lows from the weekend just past from the world of Premier League football. But who on earth is joining me? That's right, it's Sam Obaseki. How are you, sir?
I'm good, bro. I'm buzzing off the result yesterday. I'm just happy football's back, to be honest. How are you? How's the football social?
Yeah, it's another cracking show, actually. Jose Enrique, unbelievable guest. As was Darren Fletcher midweek. We've had some great company since recommencing. His dog did piss on the carpet at the end of the match. But I thought that summed it up pretty well, to be honest, because it was a drab affair. So we're not going to talk about it today. Quelle surprise. We are going to talk about Arsenal, though, as our talking point. They're back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons, losing to Brighton. Ugh.
Yeah, man, this one comes in from Sam GG01. I promise you that is not my burner account. But anyway, Arsenal's disastrous resumption to the season continued as they backed up that 3-0 loss away at City to another 2-1 loss away at Brighton, with Nicolas Pepe's 68th minute goal cancelled out by Lewis Dunk and Maupay's 94th minute winner. But that was not the main talking point. The main talking point came at the 40th minute when Leno went up for a ball, collected it as usual, got bumped by Maupay, and literally they believe that he's got a suspected ACL injury. He was furious when he was going off. He was giving Maupay a mouthful, giving him the fingers. And obviously at full time, as Maupay scored the winner, tempers were flaring. Guendouzi was going mad. Kolasinac was going mad. And everyone was just crazy, except from Arteta, who tried to remain peaceful, tried to leave the excuses out of the way, saying Arsenal only had themselves to blame. But this is exactly what he had to say.
When you lose 2 games in a row, the hardest thing is to lift the players up and believe again in what we are doing. The context of the last game against City and this one is completely different. I'm much more upset today because I know the accident that happened against City, but today the accident was provoked by us and is unacceptable.
And to be honest, he's not wrong. Arsenal were not good enough. They had 59% possession, but only had 13 shots with 6 on target, whereas the Seagulls carved out 9 opportunities with 5 on target. And it was a pretty low quality game, with XG rating it at 0.6 to 0.7 in Arsenal's favour. But this means Arsenal have only created 1.2 XG in their opening 2 games. That is poor reading for Arteta. They did, however, hit the bar through Saka, who had a quite decent game, to be honest. Aubameyang had a goal offside, goal ruled off for being offside. And they were quite soft again, conceding the opener from a short corner. Their 13th goal conceded from a set piece this season. Only Villa, with 15, have a worse record. And that's now their 6th away game under Arteta that they are yet to win any. Obviously, the main talking point from that bit was Leno and his injury. What do you make of it? I've seen some people saying that normally happens in football. Some people saying that it was disgusting. He should have been sent off. What do you think?
I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, not to be diplomatic about it, but does he have to jump with his arm leading? Probably not. Does he mean to cause the goalkeeper any form of serious injury? No, it was sort of a freak accident, wasn't it? And I think if most centre forwards feel like there's an outside chance of getting the ball, they're going to jump one way, shape or form, aren't they? Even if it's just to put the goalkeeper off. I didn't see anything malicious there, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I think some people got really carried away on Twitter. Arsenal fans obviously seeing the injury list rack up, aren't they? So I can understand their frustrations, and perhaps their frustrations bubbling over in that moment. But no, I don't think it's even like worthy of too much more discussion. Do you know what I mean? I think it's been blown out of proportion. But just to touch upon Brighton, because they deserve a lot of credit for their victory as well. Graham Potter's men needed this victory badly, didn't they? They hadn't won in 2020 going into this game, although this is their second victory over Arsenal this season. And securing the 3 points subsequently moves them up to 15th. It's getting quite tetchy down there, isn't it? 5 points clear of the relegation zone, so a little bit more comfortable than prior to the game. And things looked to be in Arsenal's favour. I mean, the Seagulls had only won 6 of their previous 29 games, with only Watford and Norwich winning fewer. 2 of those were away from home as well. And securing these sort of results just monumental for them, isn't it? Because 5 of their remaining 9 games are at the Amex. And of course, now that crucial home advantage means far less now that fans aren't allowed in the stadium to drive their players on. We've seen some startling statistics come from the Bundesliga with regards to home advantage in the absence of fans, haven't we? And I think we're starting to see that in the Premier League now. But maybe they won't need it when players like Yves Bissouma really step up to the plate like he did yesterday. 8 tackles and interceptions, 1 dribble, 1 key pass and 1 shot to boot. So he was really contributing all over the field. And he's a player that we've sort of touted for, not for the top, but for the top half most certainly for a little while now. Although he did concede 6 fouls without getting a single booking, which understandably wound up a few Arsenal fans. Headline maker Neal Maupay, he got his goal from 4 efforts. That's 9 league goals and 2 assists for the Frenchman. That's a really healthy return in his maiden campaign in the Premier League, and he looks to be a really savvy acquisition from Brentford, and Brentford's whole front line firing again this season. So who knows, maybe Graham Potter will go back to the Bees to find him a strike partner. Massive concerns for Arsenal though, and I take great joy in touching upon this. The guys in the office are absolutely wound up, aren't they? Like springs. Lacazette deservedly got an absolute bashing this game. 0 dribbles, 0 key passes, just 2 shots. He's now got 9 goals in 27 league and Europa League games, that is, which normally pad out people's stats, don't they? His last Premier League goal away from home was in February 2019.
Wow.
And just before we touch upon Arsenal again, the players, the playing personnel, they've got Southampton next, who looked really solid when they came back. So it really doesn't get much easier than a trip away to lowly Brighton, although they have been bad away from home since about 2017, haven't they?
Yeah.
That sort of culture has stuck around. I want to touch upon Lacazette with you very briefly then before I sort of unpick their transfer policy from the last few seasons. Now, £50 million, still hasn't hit 15 league goals in a campaign, and seems to be suffering a crisis in confidence. If they can get okay money for him, do you sell him in the summer?
I think by what Arteta's done since he's come in, that is kind of on the cards. You can tell by the first game that they had against City, probably one of their most important games, and he was on the bench. Eddie Nketiah started. So I think Arteta might be going with more of a youthful approach. Lacazette's record isn't really good while he's been under him as well. So if I was Arteta, I would think to be selling him or Aubameyang. Try to get something out of both of them, because we've clearly seen that Aubameyang's head is kind of half and half. He doesn't know whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go. With their form recently, and the fact that they've lost 4 players in the last 4 days due to injury, it just doesn't look good for Arsenal right now. And I think if I was Arteta, I would start again. Definitely start again, and maybe that would be with the youth.
Well, it's crazy how close they are to starting again, considering how much money they've spent over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Obviously, behind the scenes has been chaotic. We've seen the transfer, the responsibility for the transfers, let's say, change hands from Wenger to Gazidis to Mislintat to Raul Senlehi, and as a result, Arsenal have a really disjointed squad. I mean, they had a fairly promising summer.
Yeah.
4 of the 5 signings were for the future, weren't they? And I think, Leno, Bellerin, Saliba, Tierney, Saka especially, he looks like he might be talismanic for them, although he's only got a year left on his contract. Alba, Pepper and Martinelli are certainly good enough to stay, to be in future squads. But everyone else at this point feels kind of disposable.
Yeah.
And they're having a bit of a crisis at centre-half, aren't they? I mean, Mustafi, Socrates, Holding, Chambers, Mari is now out. They don't feel like centre-back partnerships that are going to secure them Champions League football. So that is definitely an area that needs addressing. And when you consider they've let the likes of Gnabry, Donyell Malen, Ismail Benacerrage on freeze or for virtually nothing in recent times, you do start to wonder, like, this is a bigger problem, obviously, than Arteta's, than the players not quite being able to execute Arteta's game plan.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, crazy how they need another couple of summers to fix things. That's who I think is good enough to stay around. In terms of who they need to buy, that's probably a little bit more of a complicated question. We probably need to flesh that out on a Sunday Vibes. But we want to know from you guys in the comments below who they should buy. And we'll shout out some of the best ones in future episodes of Winners and Losers on Football Daily. Let's move on to our first winners, a slightly brighter note.
So we move on to our winners now, and it is, of course, Chelsea, the mighty Chelsea. Yeah, I said mighty, sue me, whatever, I don't mind. This one comes in from @Patrick_MCE. And obviously, Chelsea kicked off their Premier League restart with a vital win coming from behind to beat Aston Villa 2-1 at Villa Park. The victory sees the Blues now move 5 points away from Manchester United in fourth, taking advantage of the Red Devils dropping points against Spurs on Friday. It didn't look like their day initially though. Courtney House's rebounded effort put Villa ahead just before half-time, and to be honest, it was a deserved lead. Despite dominating the ball as usual with 76% possession, Chelsea struggled to create chances in the first half and actually ended the match the inferior on XG with 1.14 to Villa's 1.57. However, Captain America to the rescue. He came off just a few minutes after half-time, and 5 minutes after he came off the bench, he scored the equaliser. The American now has 6 goals in 17 league appearances this term at a rate of a goal every 185 minutes. Olivier Giroud deflected effort sealed the points 2 minutes later and marked the Frenchman's 3rd Premier League goal this season in 4 Premier League games. And big credit to Dave Cesar Azpilicueta. The Chelsea captain assisted both goals with a man of the match performance, creating 3 chances in total, the second best on the pitch, winning 3 aerial duels and also making 3 tackles and interceptions. But even after the game, the talking point was still the big, not even big money signing, the great signing of Timo Werner. And here's what Pulisic had to say about the new signing.
We already have a very strong team and obviously very good players. And yeah, just to add guys like that is incredible. So we're obviously focused on this season for now, but we also are very excited for what's to come.
Just touching upon that point you made prior to hearing from Pulisic in terms of Villa edging Chelsea on XG. No doubt that will make it a little bit sorer for Dean Smith to process, you know, throwing away a lead at home as well. But watching the game, it felt like they had next to none of the ball. And I feel like Jack Grealish's game, pretty emblematic of that. 36 touches, just 1 fewer than Kepa, 0 dribbles, 0 shots, 1 chance created. Now that is a very quiet day for a man who has averaged over 2 shots per 90 this season and 2.6 key passes as well. But if we're looking for a silver lining, the goal scorer House did have a game to remember. So he won 6 aerial duels, which is 75% of his total efforts. He made 10 clearances, which was double the nearest competitor on the pitch, and was also a consistent threat from set pieces with that physicality, recording 3 shots in total, which was actually more than Giroud on the day. In fact, he's looked pretty solid since the Premier League's come back, hasn't he? Against Sheffield United, he had 5 shots and completed 11 aerial duels. The man is just a mammoth from set pieces and in those sort of defensive situations, and he'll need to stay on top form because the Villains have some pretty tricky fixtures coming up, including a trip to Anfield, as well as visits from Wolves and Manchester United, all of whom are chasing Europa League, Champions League football. I don't know what you make of Villa's chances of safety, Sam. I had them nailed on to go down. I feel like at the minute they're just flailing around for points as well. There's no discernible style coming from Dean Smith's men. It all looks a little bit desperate. But let us know what you think, guys, in the comments below. We'll move on to our losers and we'll get this bad boy wrapped for another week. Before we forget, though, if you're not subscribed to this channel, what the bloody hell are you playing at? Hit that subscribe button right now and you won't miss another episode of Winners and Losers before the season's end, because my oh my, are they coming thick and fast. Keep those peepers peeled as well for ERU over on Euro Football Daily in an hour's time. But let's focus now on finishing this show because Sam's battery is about to die. And Jay Chater has submitted Sheffield United as this week's losers. We've been a little bit cheeky because we wanted to celebrate Newcastle's success as well. And we've kind of split this up 50-50. I'm going to start with Newcastle. As someone that's beat up on them consistently this year, I wanted to really highlight their efforts in this game. Of course, running out 3-0 victors over high-flying Sheffield United. They did need the numerical advantage before they started playing significantly better, let's say, with John Egan sent off just after the break. And that man who's been one of their only creative and attacking threats this season, Alan Saint-Maximin, cashing in on that terrible mistake from Ender Stevens. Matt Ritchie doubling the lead before Joel Linton got his second goal.
Finally.
His first since August in the league. The big money signing from Hoffenheim was visibly relieved after the game as well. There's some good scenes on the sidelines with his manager, Steve Bruce. As a result, Steve Bruce's men now unbeaten in 4 Premier League home games without conceding a single goal, by the by, which is the first time they've done that since 2012. So starting to become a force at home, but like we just highlighted, not really advantageous at the moment, is it? But alas, it's seen them progress up the league. Man of the match in this game had to be Alan Saint-Maximin. Absolute nightmare for the Blades defence. Throughout the whole 90, he completed 7 dribbles. Goes without saying, that was a match high. He recorded 3 shots and 2 key passes as well. So deadly in the final third. And I mean, there was always application from Alan Saint-Maximin, even from when he first joined, but he lacked a bit of incisiveness, didn't he? So he only scored 1 goal from his first 30 efforts in a Magpie shirt, and now he's scored 2 from his last 2 attempts. So maybe Bruce has had a little word with him, and he's making him shoot from more opportune areas, let's say. Wilder, though, will want to forget about this week, Sam, as much as we want to forget about the connection in this episode.
Yeah, like you said, of course, he would want to forget this week after being denied a victory against Villa due to a goal line error. And now his side have now suffered their heaviest defeat this season and conceded more than 2 goals on the road for the first time in the league. They really struggled to create all game, with McBurney and Sharp having a combined 1 shot on target and 1 key pass between them. Their away form now has become a clear issue for their European push as well. After losing none of their first 9 away Premier League games, they have now lost 3 of their last 6 on the road, failing to score on 4 occasions. Wilder was clearly distraught at the end of the game, stating, "We all need to sharpen up and tighten up. And if we don't, it will be a long 5 weeks." Their next fixture is away at Manchester United, a game that will be pivotal for the European race. Newcastle, however, will host a Villa side that is desperate to get some points on the board. So the next few fixtures for both of these sides are so important. But Chris, what do you think is going to happen with Sheffield United? Do you reckon that they're going to get in the European spots, or do you think that their recent form is just not doing it?
I think it might be a little bit beyond them to fend off the advances of the team snapping at their heels. But I hope so. I certainly hope so. Obviously, Wolves looking very strong. And with 5th place potentially being a Champions League place now as well, maybe that will mean it cascades down the league and they do secure Europa League football. What do you guys think at home? Let us know in the comments below. I think we've spoke for quite long enough. That is winners and losers for this week. Thank you very much for joining me, Sam.
Thanks for having me.
Like I said, keep your eyes peeled for Euro Roundup over on Euro Football Daily, and make sure that you get your winners and losers in next week on Twitter. Take care, guys. Bye.